Hi, hello. This is Renato Almeida from Brazil. I'm a long time friend of the channel here, and you are listening to SEGA Lounge.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things SEGA, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for SEGA. Hey everyone, welcome to the SEGA Lounge. Welcome to episode 233 of the SEGA Lounge. We've got a very special episode for you this week as we continue celebrating a diversity of SEGA anniversaries around the world. So we've talked about the SEGA Genesis anniversary. This week we're going to go a little bit, we're going to go to the south of the USA. Yeah, still in America though. And we're celebrating the anniversary of yet another console. But I couldn't do it alone. I had to have help. And what better person to have to join me in celebrating the anniversary of the Master System in Brazil than my good friend Renato Almeida. Hello, Renato. Hi.
Hello. I'm very pleased to be here. And it makes a lot of sense to bring this episode to Brazil, even with the whole history of the Master System here, which is still a history that we are telling, the Master System is pretty much alive these days here. So yeah, it makes sense and happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, my friend, for joining us again. You've been on this show before. We had like a two-part episode, like back in season 6, perhaps 2 years, 3 years ago. And so people interested in that should actually check out those 2 episodes. But for people who might have missed that, would you briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing?
Oh yeah, I believe as of now, being this my 4th or 5th time here at the show, people might remember me from my story where I told everyone that when I was 9 years old, I used to play with my cousins and friends that I was the president of SEGA. And a few years later, I was working with the kind folks of SEGA, representing them here in Brazil. So quite of a story if we consider the origins of this, And I've been working with as a PR here in the Brazilian territory. I have my own agency here, and for 6 years now, I own Masamune, and we represent gaming companies across Latin America, not only Brazil. So what we do is to be like the one-stop shop for solutions for gaming companies in the territory here. And I'm very pleased to tell you all that I've been working with SEGA in many capacities with several of their offices and several friends, and it's been quite a ride.
Excellent. Yeah. And I sincerely urge people to go back to those episodes where we talked about all of that, your origin story, so to speak. Yeah. and how you ended up meeting the actual CEO of SEGA.
Yeah.
So people should actually check that out.
Yeah. And there was the challenge. The challenge was also pretty exciting. I remember that the questions, being at the show, I was nervous, but well, there's a good part.
Yeah, I think you crushed it. Yeah, you did a very good job there. Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
But it's challenging, the pressure of being here show.
We need to get you back on the show for like just one of those like special challenge episodes where we just have like two teams against each other. We need to do
Oh,
that.
nice,
Yeah, that would be nice.
nice. I
I'm actually shh, it's a secret, but I'm actually planning a few special challenges with
cool.
like previous guests since this is our 10th anniversary year. And we still have a few more episodes to go this year, this season. But don't tell anyone. It's still a
Yeah.
secret. No one's listening, so we're cool. We're cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I like some competition, so I'm interested.
nice, nice. So I'm full disclosure, no challenge today because we're celebrating 35 years of the Master System in Brazil, which is kind of amazing, and also probably weird for some people who are. We just had a recently an episode celebrating 35 years of the Sega Genesis in the US, but obviously at the time consoles were released in different times in different parts
Yeah.
of the world. So the Master System arrived a little bit later to Brazil and to other parts of the world as well. But since it's such an important part of Brazilian gaming history, and it had such a deep impact on like Brazilian culture as well, and it still has, like you were saying. I thought it would be remiss of us not to celebrate, not to sit down and talk a little bit about the importance of the Sega Master System. So I'd like to start with a more personal point of view, Renato. Uh, to you, what does the Master System mean, and how did you actually get one? What was the story behind that? I think you told us a little bit about that when you came on the show the first time. But
Mm-hmm.
like briefly, how did you find out about the Master System and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to my mind is that the Master System was the very beginning of what we say right now as the gaming industry. Seeing video games as more than a simple toy. Uh, the Master System wasn't my first console. I had Atari clone before that. It was a gift from my father, and he used it to play with me. But it was that, it was like an electronic toy, which I used to have fun with my dad, and I learned about the Master System through my cousins. They got one. I don't remember if it was some of my cousins' birthday, something like that. And there was some stores where you could also rent games. And due to the massive work that Tectoy was beginning to put out to promote the Master System, we saw that like big cities like Sao Paulo, they were receiving the consoles, and people were buying their consoles. And my cousins, they got their own Master System uh, because their father, they bought one on Paraguay, on the country of Paraguay, because it was like a normal thing to see gaming consoles coming to Brazil through Paraguay. And it was not the Tectoy model. And later on the same year, during Christmas, I got my own, and it was not the Tectoy model. I had the Tectoy model later on, but the first one that I had was the one where you didn't have Alex Kidd in the memory, as we
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
say. I had the model with Safari Hunt, Hang On, and the Secret Game, which was like an urban legend. And the thing that caught me immediately was that we finally had a jump in technology. So the colors, the graphics, the sound, it was very similar to the things that we were able to see at the arcades. So uh, I loved my Atari. Don't get me wrong. I used a lot of imagination by creating the stories that the cover arts was trying to tell with the simple graphics that the console was capable to offer. But well, it was a lot of effort, and the Master System was different. It was all very bright and colorful, and I'm to this day I'm very passionate about the color palette of that console. I really love the NES and what the games that the console brings. But when I put them side by side, I'm always looking to the side of Sega with the Master System. Those colors, they get me every time.
Yeah.
And particularly the two games that came with the console, Safari Hunt and Hang On, they were very engaging and very easy to jump in and jump off and to have a great time with. Safari Hunt, I used it to play with my father. It was like a family thing. And Hang On was a game where we could try to get better and better and better. And we saw later on in magazines that the porting was outstanding. If you were able to check the arcade version, it was like incredible to see what the console was capable of. And you had the accessories, you had everything like in the whole environment of the system, which made it like even better. So what defines the Master System for me was this jumping in technology. It was not a simple toy. It was the real deal. It was
Yeah.
the first impression was the one that we were truly in the future.
Yeah, yeah, I can get that. It's funny to think about what you said before. If you played like an Atari game or something, I've mentioned this a few times before on the show. I usually say that my first console was the Mega Drive. However, in recent years, I seem to have remembered that I used to have some sort of Atari console or maybe an Atari clone, like some sort of
Hmm.
Pong machine. But I probably what happened, and the reason for me saying the first console was the Mega Drive was it probably in my mind as a kid. I was able to separate the quality of that Atari system or clone and the quality of the Mega Drive. So it wasn't even remotely similar, right? The kind of graphics and the experience and the music, and so I can relate to that experience of having to create stories and like trying to imagine in your head that like stick figure was actually
Yeah,
a person or a monster or whatever it was,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
seeing like the real thing, the real deal,
Uh-huh.
when playing Master System or Mega Drive games, that was a whole different experience, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. And in my case, I remember that, well, my childhood hero was He-Man. The show was very popular, and it was my favorite hero. And I had the game for the Atari, and it was really fun. It was very limited, obviously, but I had a lot of fun with that game. And when we got the Master System, I was craving a new game, a new He-Man game, a new Masters of the Universe game with that color palette, with that many details. I was imagining that like constantly. And one of the magazines here in Brazil, Some Games, they had like a fixed segment every month, or I think it was bi-weekly. But every issue they brought like a question to the readers. Which is your what's the game that you want to see the most? That you want to see a company creating. And I remember that there was a lot of IPs that people was craving to see games from, like the Woodpecker was
Okay.
very popular. and I saw lots of letters from fans asking for a game. The Dinosaur Family by Disney. I don't recall
Okay.
the name of the show, but with the animatronic figures with
Yeah, yeah,
dinosaurs
yeah,
was
yeah.
very popular. And He-Man was also a character that people wanted to see in a game. But in the end, we didn't have anything like that. So it
Yeah.
was a bummer, The console came to an end, and no He-Man game, no Masters of the Universe. But
So
yeah,
for
that's part of the.
people listening to this or watching this, and if you're creating games for the Master System, come on, let's create a Masters of the Universe game for the Master System. It's 2024. It's time. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let, you,
absolutely. Uh,
you'll make Renato happy. So that's a plus. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I would be very happy. I would be very, very happy.
Excellent. Yeah, you mentioned Hang On as a highlight in the game you had, and we can actually we have some gameplay footage here of Hang On, and it's really amazing how close if it was to the arcade experience, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Uh,
mesmerizing.
yeah, it's really really great. How that little console was able to do this was really amazing. Yeah. Did you play this a lot?
Oh yeah, a lot, a lot. Yeah, I was always trying to get like better times, and uh, within the box of the cartridges back in the day, we used to have like the leaflet with the or
Mm-hmm.
the instruction. There was a space where you could write down your like records and stuff like that. That game I didn't have the box because it came inside the console. But I remember taking notes of the times, that we were able to cross every single line,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
and this game reminded me a lot of Enduro on the Atari, because you
Mm-hmm.
have the scenery changing. Like you can see the weather. We can see now at the screen like new scenery,
Mm-hmm.
the cloud sky getting dark. So it was very impressive because this was uh, doing it like properly as we see in real life. So that was the kind of emotion that the game and the console was capable to give us.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So, like you said, amazing. Like these changes,
Hmm.
the a simple thing nowadays, but very impressive back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, especially considering what we had before, right?
Yeah.
That's
Of course. Of course.
okay. So, did you know of this? How did you learn about the Master System? By the way, what is it through magazines? Was it through advertising? Through word of mouth?
Yeah, 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 of course. First thing was word of mouth. When you are a kid, there's always some component of competition between you and your friends. So who is getting the hottest game first? So this is always part of the conversation. And I remember that in school, friends telling that they were going to get a new system, and the system promised to be like amazing. And we didn't have any proof, So it was something that, okay, show me when you get this console, invite me to your place, and we're going to play the hell of that console. So it was something like that. So I first heard about the Master System. Then I heard about that from my cousins, and then they got their own, and we started to play constantly there. And I was begging to my father to get me one by Christmas, and that happened in the end, you
Hmm.
know.
Okay,
And I
excellent.
had to give away my Atari, so as part of the purchase, so it was part of
Mm.
the purchase money. So we sold the Atari to the store and used part of the money to pay for the Master System. But I was super happy. I wasn't thinking about Getting back to the Atari, I had a great time with the Atari, but it was time to depart.
To upgrade to a
Yeah,
different, a better
yeah.
system. Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for
yeah, and
sure.
it was nice because we were able to get a new cartridge for the Master System in special occasions like birthdays or Christmas, and you could exchange with your friends or your family, as I've done in the past with my cousins, and also it was the time where we saw. The rental stores getting more and more popular, so they would bring games that they could purchase and buy from Tectoy, but also sometimes they would bring games from abroad, so they used to import some stuff from Europe. And then once Tectoy managed to solidify its presence as the leader when it comes to the Master System worldwide, then we had many games that nobody else had a chance to play, so exclusives,
Yeah,
if I can say.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So I was trying to research or find a list of like an official list of launch games, launch titles for the Master System in Brazil. I don't know if you have any idea. I wasn't able to find like a proper list because it's probably
Mm,
hard to remember which ones, and there's no real official record of that. I'm sure someone remembers, but do you have any idea of how many games and like which ones were? You already mentioned the ones that came like built into the console. Um,
yeah,
which
yeah.
other ones do you
The,
remember being launched with the console itself?
the game that I remember the most, mostly because of the advertising that was very strong, was Alex Kidd in Miracle World, for sure. But I don't recall if Tectoy started selling their own system produced here in Brazil with Alex Kidd in the as the game that was built in the console, or if they had some copies or some Master System Model One, as if we can say like that, but
Yeah.
with Gone in Safari Hunt. But mostly when we talk about the launch here, Alex Kidd is the heavy hitter, because you could find it was the front man for magazines and for advertising, TV advertising, everything. So if you talk to 10 Brazilian gamers from that era, 11 will tell you that Alex Kidd was the little guy moving
The
consoles
mascot,
for
right?
the mascot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
For sure, for sure. So Alex Kidd was a big thing, right? I think
Yeah.
that's not just in Brazil, but
Mm-hmm.
most people. I actually never owned a Master System back in the day, so my experience is a little bit different, and that's why I also like to learn about
Mm-hmm.
people's experiences with this console. I played at a friend's house. I played the console, and I remember playing Sonic One
Mm-hmm.
there in Sonic 2, if I'm not mistaken. The first
Mm-hmm.
experience I had with the Master System. A few years into already owning my own Mega Drive. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the first thing, but I was very impressed. I remember being very impressed with like the quality of the game because the little I knew of the Master System was that it was much less powerful than the Mega Drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I as a kid I understood that it was less powerful, and in my head
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't even remotely close to what the Mega Drive could do. So when I saw Sonic One, and I realized it was a little bit more simplistic in a way, but it was the Sonic One experience that we had on the Mega
Mm-hmm.
Drive in a way. I was a
Mm-hmm.
bit surprised and like impressed. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I remember I wasn't really aware of the connection between Alex Kidd and the Master System. I remember Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle for the Mega
Mm-hmm.
Drive, because it
Mm-hmm.
was also
Mm-hmm.
on the back of the box of the Mega Drive. There were
Yeah.
like all those little squares with
Mm-hmm.
different games. That was one of them. But obviously, later I realized that people who owned a Master System really, really associate the Master System with Alex Kidd.
Yeah.
Alex is the face of the Master System, at least for the first few years of the console, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And one other game that I remember playing like really early in the life cycle of the Master System here was Shinobi. Shinobi was a very popular game. I don't recall if it was like in the launch lineup, but it was in the early life cycle, in the early stages of the life cycle of the console.
Hmm.
And also, Tectoy was betting really high on selling the bundle version of the console. So the one with the light phaser and the 3D glasses. So most certainly we had games for those peripherals. And I can recall Gangster Town being a very strong name, and also Wanted, which was the cowboy game, which was very popular. So those are some of the games I remember really early in the life of the console, because
Hmm.
Sonic was came a bit later.
Later, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So for people wondering about Wanted, this is Wanted
yeah,
on the Master System, right? So
yeah,
for uh, people watching the video version, for listeners, go watch the video version on YouTube. But
yeah,
yeah, it's like it reminds me a little bit of what Sunset Riders did later,
yeah,
like in the
yeah,
arcades on the Mega Drive as well.
yeah. Of
Uh,
course. And
so this was a light
and
phaser game, right?
yes, and this the it has the same structure of Gangster Town. Obviously, the setting
Mm.
is different. One is in the Wild West, and the other one it's like you can say like Chicago
Yeah,
in the
like the
30s, something
1930s
like
or
that.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really fun, and I remember that we used to have a lot of reruns of cowboy movies in on TV. And when I saw that game and playing it with the light phaser, it was amazing. You know, like if I'm not mistaken, you have some bonus levels in between stages, and the perspective is a different one, and the character is super big, you know, with like bigger sprites. And in my imagination was like Clint Eastwood is in my television playing with me, you know, so something like that. It was
Awesome.
awesome.
And there's some writing segments as well. Writing segments.
Yes,
So yeah,
yes,
there you
yes,
go. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Also emulated in spirit by Sunset Riders.
True.
There were some stages like that in Sunset Riders
Hmm.
later on.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Okay, so thank you for sharing your experiences. So I'm going to put you on the spot now, as
Okay,
I like to do, and ask you to pick. You can choose between a top three and a top five Master System
okay,
games of all time. Is that easy or not
okay.
for you?
It's easy.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's set in stone.
Okay.
I probably may have a hard time positioning them, but I know
Okay.
what the five best are for me.
It's okay. It's okay. No problem. So,
Cool.
like in no particular order, what
In no
comes first?
particular order. Okay, so Fantasy Star, it's a heavy hitter for me,
Hmm.
mainly because it surpasses the experience of playing a game. It was a collective experience for me because I had the chance to beat this game with the help of my cousins. You know, we I remember us reunited like several days straight, making our own maps, like writing down and creating and drafting our own maps to get out of the mazo, you know, the
Hmm.
dungeon. And the most impressive thing for everyone back in the day is that Tectoy localized the game. So it was fully localized. localized in Brazilian Portuguese. And nowadays we will see that there are some patches with better localizations, so adaptations according to the lore. But
Hmm.
we're talking about the early 90s here, and it was impressive to see this happening. Nobody was counting on it. And I recall that there was an ad in several magazines talking about how impressive it was to have an RPG localized to Brazilian Portuguese. So I can say that this game was the one responsible for kickstarting the Brazilian industry as we have it today,
Hmm.
because nowadays localization is something that you can count on, be it in AAA games, but also on indie games, and that's what inspired me to create our own localization department at Masamune. And we've been localizing games that I've dreamed. I had a dream to localize one day, and the inspiration was that, because localization back in the day was accessibility. We
Yeah.
were kids, we
Hmm.
we, we, we didn't have the chance to learn the language, the English language before, so we it was very, very important, so it was a very important one, and I bring that one all the time.
Yeah,
Wonder
and
Boy.
it was a very sorry, was it a very text heavy game, right? So an
Yes.
RPG with a lot of text
Yes.
without knowing English, understanding English,
Yes.
you wouldn't be able to understand this. So that there was
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
people listening to us obviously don't have that problem, but unless you don't speak English and you're listening to this for some reason, which thank you, but I don't understand, but okay. But for people whose native language is not English, having something localized in your own language, something so dense in terms of
Yeah.
text, was really really important. Because I think the importance of Fantasy Star as a whole, as a game, is sometimes understated. People don't talk about it enough, but people, and I'm not saying this as a massive fan of the game because I'm not really. I'm a more recent RPG player, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like a person that played a lot of RPGs growing up. But I
Mm-hmm.
do understand that fans of RPGs and people who played, especially Fantasy Star One back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, really regard this as a very important title, and having this in your own language was probably an amazing thing, right, back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, and the advertising that I've mentioned previously, the tagline, it was, "It will take you 3 months to beat this game." This is an RPG, so it was kind of an introduction uh, to the subject as well, because it was explaining what the game was like, what you were able to do, and why the game was so long. And I remember being really impressed with this. 3 months. Sometimes I beat a game like in one afternoon, and I have to return it to the rental store. Give me this game. I want this game. I want to play for 3 months straight if I'm able to. But
And,
yeah, it was very
before
special.
we move on, you mentioned something that I find interesting, and I've heard before other people saying that before, like the communal experience of playing the game with others and
Yeah,
sharing that same experience.
yeah.
Um, in recent years, that there aren't many games that have that same effect. I can think of maybe something like Breath of the Wild, Zelda, and Tears of the Kingdom, and stuff like that. And probably for some people, maybe something like Baldur's Gate or something that have that like impact on everyone. Everyone's playing at the same time, and everyone's like discovering their own secrets and stuff. But like you said before, the this massive game that everyone was playing, discovering secrets at the same time, like drawing maps. That
Yeah,
must have been
it was
something
very
incredible.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we have this phenomena that people playing, millions of people playing the same game at the same time. But when I was telling you this, I was telling playing with other people at the same time in the same room.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's a thing that it's hard to see nowadays,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And recently, I only recall playing like party games like that, you know, like
Hmm.
Mario Party and stuff like that. And one other genre that I like to play like collectively is like mystery games, you know, like games like
Hmm.
the one by San Barlow, you know, where you can take notes, like to cross-examine some of the characters and try to find who is the main suspect of a crime. But other than that, it's a it's an experience that we don't see very much
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Okay. And I'll stop interrupting you and let you keep going with your top
With the
three or
list, with
five
the
or
list,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. So the second game that I usually bring with me is Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy, I know that it's also an IP that's special and Sega fans have fond memories with. But the very first one, which was a sorry, part of the arcade, also was very special to me because if it was the very first game that I got physical, like it was a gift. I don't recall if it was what was the occasion, but I've managed to play this one a lot because it was very very challenging, and I really liked the colors of the game, the characters. I felt a deep connection with this game uh, because it was like a lot of crazy stuff mixed. You know, it was like this prehistoric kid with a skateboard trying to
Yeah.
rescue his girlfriend. You know, monsters and secret levels and lots of bosses, challenging, great soundtrack. It was really really good, you know, and it's a series that I follow to this day. You know,
Mhm.
I still try to play new entries, you know, and I recommend. So it was really really good. And
Definitely.
the cover art of the game was very minimalistic. You know, the Brazilian cover art was had the pattern, the white and with the black lines pattern, with only the representation of the Wonder Boy, but very small representation of his weapon and
Hmm.
an enemy, and only that. There was no like big artwork, you know, something. It was very minimalistic, very very minimalistic. So
Like
when
many
I
of the games of the Master System covers, right?
yes
The
yes
Western ones,
yes
especially like
yeah,
that,
but
and sometimes
I
like
see,
what they chose to draw on those covers didn't match the gameplay or the graphics at all.
yeah
So,
if you take like the sports games, it's usually like the ball, like the
mhm.
basketball game, it's a basketball, baseball game, it's a baseball. But this game has a charismatic character. You know, it could be like his face, something, or a monster,
Yeah.
something like that. You know,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's interesting.
I have to
Uh,
say, interrupting you again, that there is no version of this game that I don't like. So, be it the
okay,
Wonder Boy, be it Adventure Island on the
yeah,
Nintendo
also
platforms,
great.
there is no version of this original game that I don't like, and it's
Yeah,
such. I mean, I discovered this like later, much later, and I was surprised by the quality of the arcade like experience. It's a
yeah,
very fun game. It's
yes,
challenging, but not impossible to beat. Which sometimes that's what happened back in the day.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We had challenging games, but the challenge was it's like nearly impossible to beat.
yes,
Not the
yeah,
case. You can like practice and with a few runs get much better. Um, the graphics were amazing. Whatever the version is, even the Game
Yeah,
Boy version, very
yeah,
fun to play, very nice to look at. Um, and it's a series that like you said it throughout the years I've been following even the most recent remakes and
yeah.
re-releases, and it's a very good series. But this first game, I think many people sleep on, and if you get the chance, try it on whatever
Hmm.
platform you can.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Adventure Island because back in the day, I got into an argument, almost a fight with a friend of mine due to the rivalry between Sega and Nintendo. When he got his Game Boy, he got a copy of Adventure Island,
Okay.
and I got my copy of Wonder Boy like way previously, way before that. And when he was showing me the game, I started to like pick on him and accusing Nintendo that Nintendo was copying a beloved Master System game because it's a small kid with a prehistoric kid with a skateboard trying to rescue the girlfriend, and I was like very strong arguments, trying to point him to the wrong to the right direction. You have to put this aside and come to play the original thing.
Yeah.
This is the game that came before. I didn't know about this whole story with the IP, the licensing deals, but it
Mm.
was part of the childhood as well.
Yeah. 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 Very good. Like the console wars. Yeah.
The console wars, yeah.
Okay. So Fantasy
So
Star, Wonder Boy.
moving, moving
Yeah.
on. I have to say, Castle of Illusion. I remember that there were two versions, one for the Mega Drive and one for the Master System. And to this day, I feel that the Master System one is the most special one for me. I really like the Mega Drive version. It's more colorful, better sound, different levels. But the one version that sticks with me to this day is this version, the Master System one.
Hmm.
And the specific level that brings me the most special memories is the candy level, the chocolate custom chocolate made level phase, and it was a great game licensed by Sega with Disney, and Disney was always big, always huge, and to see Disney characters coming to our own console was very special. I used it to watch the cartoons on TV, and it was an amazing game, an amazing experience. And it became more special to me because I've managed to work and promote the remake uh, on the PlayStation 3 and
Yeah.
Xbox 360 era. So it was,
2013, I believe. Right. I think
yes,
so. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Many years later to see the game coming back, and it is also a great game.
Hmm.
So pays the homage respectfully, and very entertaining, creative ideas. And I felt really sorry when I saw the game coming out of the stores due to licensing, but also cheered and celebrated when the game returned
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah. Yeah. I find this a very interesting case, the Master System version versus the Mega Drive one, because they're both good games. The Master
Yeah,
System version is much harder, I think,
yeah, yeah,
and it's much more of a it has more puzzle elements
yeah,
than the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive one is like more of a straightforward platformer,
yeah. I
and the
completely
Master
agree with
System one
this.
has like the puzzle elements and
Hmm.
um, like picking up items to throw them and to like get higher places by picking up a barrel and throwing it and putting it in a certain place. So there's a different element to it that I find very interesting, and the fact
Yeah,
that they like obviously worked so hard on both of these versions,
yeah,
and both came out so good
yeah.
is great, is amazing.
Yeah, I really think that's the best scenario, when you have the same game, so same name, but different enough versions to enjoy them both as separate products, So
Yeah.
I really love when this happens. So instead of simply trying to port the game, to create and to add their elements that resonate with that particular hardware and its own things.
And sometimes when it's just a simple port, like a straight port, what ends up happening is the less powerful system has a weaker version, like a lesser
Yeah,
version of the game,
yeah,
right? They
yeah.
just try to port, but because it's not as powerful, they leave out stuff or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is the right approach, and
Yeah.
it's seen in other examples as well. I remember Ristar, for example. The Game Gear
Mm-hmm.
version of Ristar is different enough from the, it
Mm-hmm.
has some things in common but very different as well, and it's a very enjoyable game as well in its own right.
Yeah.
So that's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And it's the same for Sonic the Hedgehog,
exactly.
the first one.
Yeah.
Different enough. Both great experiences, great games. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Is that the
which
next
takes
game on
me,
the list?
yeah, which takes me to this game.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, this
Let let
very
let let
special
let,
game.
let people let's let oh no, not me, you. Let's let people see. Okay, there we go. That deserves the spotlight. There
Yeah,
we go. That's a
and
very special copy, right?
yeah,
You have there.
because it has the autograph of the master, the legend, Yuzo Koshiro. And Danny, if you are hearing this, thank you so much once again, because it was Danny's schemes that brought me this copy, autographed copy, and it's one of my most highly prized games in the collection.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it's an amazing game.
yeah.
It's such a great game with an outstanding soundtrack by Koshiro and his team.
Hmm.
And later on, it's worth mentioning later on with the second and reduced in size version of the Master System. uh, that was the game that came with the console. So if you bought the Master System version, uh, I don't recall if it was 3 or 2 here. Uh, that was the game that came in with the console, and
Hmm.
wow, what a great game to have, built in your system. It's amazing. I have this version of the console. That's the one that I chose to mod with RGB, to have everything that it deserves to shine with a PVM and etc. Because it's amazing to turn this console on, seeing that shiny Sega logo with the sound effects, and then starting with the theme song of the game. So
Hmm.
brilliant, brilliant,
Yeah,
outstanding decision by Tectoy and Sega here in Brazil.
yeah, yeah. And shout out to our good friend Danny Russell, who we
Yeah,
miss, who we miss, and yeah, great guy. So
amazing guy.
amazing guy. Yeah. Excellent. So that's how many?
Number four. Number
Oh,
four.
that's four. Okay. Okay. So next.
So next, I'm going to cheat a little bit here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's for a special reason here. And I think I'm going to be the only one saying this across other guests that might come in to talk about the Master System. But instead of a game, I'm going to choose a series of games. And it's very odd if you think about this, but it's the great series, the great volleyball, great basketball, great soccer, the sports games, all of them.
Okay. Okay.
We know as fans and that are following Sega's history across ages, how important sports games are for the history of Sega. We saw the consolidation of the Mega Drive or the Genesis in the US. where they took the lead from Nintendo. And sports games were one of the main things behind that big change with licensing IPs like Joe Montana, the baseball ones, everything related to sports. And I really enjoyed that era on the Mega Drive. But all of that started with the Master System for me. I remember playing some sports games in the Atari, like golf and boxing, the boxing game by Activision. It was amazing back in the day.
Oh,
But
for sure.
when you saw the great volleyball and great basketball, which are my two favorite ones, and the detail of the characters, the detail of the court, the detail of the ball, the gameplay, it was really impressive, really impressive. And since you could play with a friend, so a collective experience, it became something special. You know, it became something really special. So I remember enjoying that series of games like for many years, you know. So one special detail that was really great to me when playing those series was when you were selecting your team, you were able to choose Brazil in some of these sports, like volleyball.
Nice.
We had the Olympic Brazilian national Olympic team going for the gold medal in '92 and also in '88. So this game coming out with Brazil, and you were able to listen the national anthem with
Oh,
chip
nice.
tune. It
Oh,
was
nice.
incredible to hear the national anthem with the chip tunes from the Master System. Wow, that was incredible. Because I was in school back in the day, we learned how to sing the national anthem, so we were getting familiarized with this stuff, and you were able to see the flag of your country there, and also the national anthem. Wow, it was great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the gameplay, especially for great volleyball and great basketball, top notch, top notch. I really like this game. I played this game very often, very often. The one that I liked that I would love to be like better gameplay wise is obviously football or soccer for our American friends.
Yeah.
It's not that great gameplay wise, but still I can have some fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, it's reasonably okay, I think.
Reasonably okay. Yeah. There are worse football games
For
and
sure, for
better.
sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
It's a game. It's a game that you
it's a
can
game.
play.
Yeah,
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 yeah, for sure, for
yeah.
sure. Okay.
But
I
yeah,
actually I actually wasn't familiar with great volleyball. And it looks really good. Looks really good.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
love the colors. Yeah, the
The
color
pixel
scheme.
art is incredible.
Yeah.
The characters and if I'm not mistaken, Great Basketball has a similar characters.
Mhm.
For the pixel art is kind of similar,
Yeah.
but also very interesting.
Yeah, I think we need more volleyball games, to be honest.
Oh, me too.
I love Beach Spikers, for example, by Sega as well.
Yeah, yeah.
This is great basketball for people watching.
A little less detailed. You don't see the
Yeah,
eyes of the characters, but
yeah, yeah. But still very nice to look at. Yeah,
yeah,
and coming from the Atari, even more, right? Even more
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. And I have a son, 7 years old, and from time to time I try to introduce some of these classic games to him. And I was going to show him great volleyball the other day, and it took me by surprise because it's a slice of history as well. Because you can see that the game brings the Soviet Union.
Oh
So
yeah,
there's the national anthem. It has the flag, and it like considering the time that we are now, like 40 years later or something, it put things into perspective. So it's a slice of history that it's encapsulated in a slice of gaming history as well.
it's how old we are, my friend. Yes.
Yeah, or my
Some
beard is
countries
not
don't exist
fooling
anymore.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Okay.
that's the top five for me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh, and
It's
sometimes
I thought, I'll be honest, I thought you were gonna mention what everyone else knows as California games,
it's very special,
which
very
is like
special.
Jogos de Verão, right? So like summer
Jogos de
games
Verão.
in
Yeah,
Brazil,
yeah,
which I know is special as well. But yeah, but
yeah.
great picks here as well.
But of course, this is a living breathing list. You know, sometimes you maybe I will bring California games or even Shinobi, and also there's another game that has a lot of history within itself, which is very important to me, which is Black Belt. Black
Okay,
Belt
black
was
belt.
an
Yeah.
important game which I played a lot, very challenging, very special. And what was my surprise when I learned like many years later that this game was like a new version of a Hokuto no Ken game in Japan, which is a manga series
Mm-hmm.
so important to me that I gave the name of the character, the main character in the series, to my son. So my son is called Kenshiro because
Oh.
of Feast of the North Star.
Okay.
So that brings me to this
Okay.
game
Wait.
here.
Wait. Yes. 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 Okay. Okay.
I have a copy of Black Belt from that time. But when I learned that there was a game in Japan for the Sega Mark III,
Mm-hmm.
that was the original version with Kenshiro starring it as the main star, I had to get this one. I don't have a Sega Mark III here with me, but I have the game. You know, once I get the console, I will be able to play this with my son, and I like to have this both versions with me. But a really solid game.
Yeah, which is what we're looking at right now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Mark III game. Yeah.
I completely understand the Sega choosing to create this karate guy like more generic because the IP wasn't popular in the West. But either way, it was a very solid game.
And it's another thing that shows how old we are. Because if this was released in 2024, obviously it would have retained the original name, and because anime and manga are obviously
Hmm.
big now, and people
Yeah,
in the West, people are supposed to understand this and know what this is and enjoy it. So it's a very different time in that regard as well.
yeah, yeah. And I really loved that for the most recent Feast of the North Star by Sega,
Hmm.
by the RGG team,
Yeah.
they put Easter egg where you can find the cartridge of this game in the desert and bring home with you to play the game.
Mhm.
Also, one of the recent Yakuza games, I think it's the man who
A
his
Gaiden.
name
Yeah. Yeah.
Gaiden. Yeah, also has the game
Yeah. You have a master
built in.
system
Yeah,
with,
that's
and you can
amazing.
find
That's
games.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Also,
Thanks for
also
reminding me of that.
in the top five.
Yeah. Yeah. Great game. Great game. I really like Gaiden. Yeah. Very good game. But we're not
Yeah,
here to talk about Like a Dragon slash Yakuza. Okay,
yeah.
we're gonna take a quick break here, Renato, and we're gonna come back and talk a little bit more about the Master System in Brazil, but more now in a more generic point of view, because
Hmm.
you were gracious enough to share your own experiences,
Hmm.
but we want to know more about like the impact of the system in the country. All right. So after we got this like more personal approach to the Master System, Tech Toys like first foray into working with Sega and stuff, which by the way was discussed when I had um, Stefan Arnold on the show last season. So
Oh,
that's
amazing.
a very cool episode that I'm really proud of. Really need to get him back on the show to discuss the more like recent years, the last
Mm-hmm.
few years that he was in charge of Tectoy. But now we're gonna go take a more like countrywide approach to this. But I
Yeah.
wanted to just remind people before we get into that you can support the Sega Lounge. So if you wish to support the show in any way by buying us a coffee or getting some awesome themed merch, you can by going to the segalounge.com/support. You can help us pay the bills and we'll be forever grateful. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. We're releasing more video content these days, including interesting clips. Speaking of that tech toy related episode we had last season, you'll probably see some video clips of that soon on the channel. So stay tuned for that. But I'm here with my good friend Renato Almeida and a massive Sega fan. Renato, how would you describe the impact of the Master System in Brazil when it first launched? Like the first couple of years or something. How important was this system for the gaming industry in Brazil, from your perspective, of course?
I believe that it completely changed the landscape for kids and youngsters uh, in preparing an entire generation to get in contact with technology, you know. So I really believe that was the size of the impact because before that we had the Atari and like regular toys, and so action figures like He-Man, Rambo, GI Joe, and etc. But with the Master System, the popularization of the Master System, and the investment that Tectoy was making into the country with other projects like their computer toy called Pensy Bane, it was like a very big impact, you know, and you could see that because it was obviously something that was aimed at kids, but it became a business, you know, it became a big business. We saw the rise of specialized stores, rental stores, districts focused on video games in big cities like Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. But also, you could see this impact everywhere, not only in magazines, specialized magazines, but also in like consumer magazines. So from time to time, you could see a piece about how big the industry was getting, about tournaments getting bigger, about celebrities joining the Sega following, and also on television. You know, so we had TV shows uh, with were not originally created to aim at gamers or kids who like to play games, but that instead decided to have some sort of coverage, and until the point where we had a TV show where Tectoy and SBT, a major television channel, a public channel here, created a partnership where they put kids inside the video games. So through the technology of the time, using their cameras and like blue screen or green screen, they were able to like record the kids and put the kid inside Alex Kidd in a level of Alex Kidd. So it
I
was.
remember that. I remember seeing that recently
Remember that? Yeah.
somewhere. Not seeing
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
then, but recently. I think a few weeks or months ago, I remember someone shared. Maybe it was you sharing that. What was the name of the show, by the way?
It's a TV game, but also put in the search SBT.
SBT. Yeah.
because it's the television channel.
Yeah, the channel.
Probably we will find something to illustrate this part of the conversation, but it was nowadays it's going to be like very silly, if you watch this and if you see this, it's totally silly and kind of stupid.
I remember like I can't really now find anything, but I remember seeing like the level, like that puzzle in Alex Kidd, that part that you had to jump on the tiles that had the little symbols,
Yeah, yeah,
and the kid was trying to jump on
yeah,
the right tile, and he missed, I think, so he died in the game. Or
yeah,
like there was like an enemy coming at him and he was like
yeah,
punching the air and stuff.
yes. So it was a complete gimmick. So there was someone behind the screen playing the game, trying to emulate what the kid was doing in front of the camera. Uh, and the figure of the kid was covering the character, the sprite, so you
Mhm,
couldn't
mhm.
see the real character, Alex Kidd. But it was terrible, no response whatsoever. We were far, 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 far from the Kinect experience,
Okay.
or even the activator.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but I remember watching that short clip of that show and thinking, like, if you remember what we had back then, and like it must have blown kids' minds when
Oh,
they
of
watched
course.
that. Like, oh,
It,
that's
of
amazing!
course.
And if I go
It
to that
was,
show, I can be in the game, and that's like,
yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, and if you win, you're going to get as prizes new cartridges or accessories or consoles. So it was really, really special. Everyone was dreaming about that. I bet every single kid in the country was asking for the help of their parents to write a letter to be chosen by the,
Yeah,
the show.
yeah, that's
Uh,
it.
but other than that, I also remember TV Global, which is the biggest TV channel in Brazil.
Hmm.
They had a show where they used to talk about the making of their soap operas or other shows in their in the television channel. And at some point, they started to share tips and tricks for video games, and also through a partnership with Tectoy, they started to put out some contests to get prizes to fans who wrote letters. And
Okay.
in one particular occasion, also, it's possible to find a clip of this on YouTube. The host of the show was completely swamped by letters, so it was insane, an insane amount of letters to try to get something from the show.
So
Oh, you have the clip.
I
Amazing.
found the Alex Kidd footage, which for people watching, yeah. Remember, you need to look at this through the lens of like a kid
Yeah,
in the early 90s. So, how amazing was this, right?
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's very special, it may like silly and stupid, but it was so special. And the kids at the time felt appreciated,
Mhm.
and also more initiatives by Tectoy. Like for instance, we had our own hotline for Sega games.
Yeah.
So you were able to call a place where we thought it was like Sega, the Sega building, someone working for the company to help you with a trick or a tip to pass like a difficult level or to
Hmm.
achieve something in a game. So games started to be they started to be like a part of our lifestyle. So we saw magazines, we saw TV shows, we saw the emerging interests for technology, following what was new in the arcades, or even what's coming after the Master System with the Mega Drive, or even the Super Nintendo or other
Hmm.
consoles, and some events bringing new accessories and new peripherals as well. So the biggest technology and consumer show here, they started to get bigger and bigger space dedicated to games, which was the attendance level like like rose during this time, mostly by video rental stores. Uh, well, it was the kickstart of a new era of interest
Hmm.
towards technology and games. You know.
Yeah. And putting things into perspective, uh, how were things before the Master System, before Tectoy made this deal with Sega? Because I know that it was hard to import things like
Yeah.
electronics, especially because of high taxes, right? So electronics were taxed really high, so that made it difficult for companies to
Yeah.
sell the products there, like foreign companies to bring their consoles there. So, like for example, the NES, which would probably be the closest thing to the Master System back then, wasn't really a thing because of that as well, right?
Yeah.
Apart
Yeah.
from maybe like a
Yeah.
clone console or two, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It everything comes down to the what was happening in the country, and it's worth to remember that until 1984 we were in a dictatorship, a military dictatorship across the country, and due to that, there was a lot of difficult and challenging process to handle, like importing. So companies, foreign companies, had difficult time to do business here, and there was this particular law that would excuse companies for cloning systems. So the clone era really rose, and it was a bright and shiny moment for cloning companies
The Clone
with
Wars, then.
the clone wars.
Okay.
When it comes to the Atari, so Atari systems being cloned across the board, but also we had some presence before that with Philco. Philco put out their own version of Pong, which was called Telejogo here.
Okay.
And later on, Philco had a partnership with Hitachi, the Japanese company, and they got some sort of deal to uh, uh, launch televisions and TV sets in Brazil. But it was the Wild West, because you either had a clone that you could purchase here, like everywhere, by Brazilian companies, and it's the same for software and computer. So it was the same. And later on, almost entering the 90s, we saw some of the companies trying to get into the official area with licensing. So we had Tectoy with Sega, but also Gradiente with Nintendo. So they did release like a late version of the NES here, and then the Super Nintendo later on. And Gradiente entered a partnership deal with Estrela, which is a big toy company here, and they created a new brand called Playtronic, and Playtronic
Hmm.
was the company putting all of the releases for the Super Nintendo, be it hardware or software, into the market. Either you bought clone systems or you had to import from countries like Paraguay, because there is the border in the very south part of Brazil. And it was a popular destiny for vacation. So families used to go there to get um, imported stuff,
Yeah.
be it from Japan or the US.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was the reason that later on my Mega Drive came from Japan through Paraguay. So,
Okay.
I had the Japanese system because I bought the Mega Drive before Tectoy started to sell the official version here. Because
Yeah.
remember when I told you that the Master System changed the perspective and we wanted the new thing, we wanted the best technology. That
Yeah.
was the whole reason.
Yeah, yeah, and it's worth mentioning that Tectoy, the partnership they had with Sega, they produced the
Locally.
consoles like
Yeah.
locally. That's why
Yeah.
they could benefit from like fiscal benefits and stuff. Because
Yes.
if I understand correctly, the reason why clone systems were allowed and excused was because they were produced locally as well, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah. Exactly.
if you wanted like the original the real thing, you had to import, and
Yeah.
being like a closed country in a dictatorship,
Yeah.
usually you don't want to like you want to benefit like local companies and local production.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
and
the protection of the market.
exactly, and so like imagine being like a Nintendo or something, and having to fight like to having this unfair fight with local companies who were cloning your system, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really
Yeah.
make sense, right?
And since it took so long to Nintendo to finally board Brazil as a territory
Hmm.
business wise, that's the reason we saw Fami clones.
Yeah.
So like really striving here for quite some time.
Hmm.
So obviously there was no competition to what Tectoy was doing with the Master System due to the local manufacturing and the reach of the business, but it was a critical time, and that's the reason the Master System won the console war here in that generation, you know. But
Yeah.
the clone systems and the Fami clones are also really praised, and they have a special place in everyone's hearts across the country. But they didn't put out ads, they didn't create shows on television, they didn't.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's
They weren't as cool, right?
yeah,
If you wanted to be
it
one of
was
the
this
cool kids.
the second best thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, and in one of the first things you said here on this episode was that the Master System is still alive in Brazil. It is in a way everywhere because thankfully we have a thriving community of people making games for retro consoles, not just the Master System, but Mega Drive, Dreamcast, Saturn. But in Brazil specifically, it's still alive because it's still being sold today, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
like a current product that Tectoy puts out, right? Is it
That's
like
correct.
is it something that you feel like kids today still want, or is it more like more of a nostalgia thing for older people who lived
Yeah,
that period?
I have the perfect story for that.
Excellent.
I use it to work for a company like 20 years ago, something like that. So 20 years ago, it's not the 1980s kids. It's 20, it's it's the 2000s because
Hmm.
our memory tends to fool us. But
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was working for a company back in the day, and I had a friend, and I remember him telling me that he wasn't happy that his daughter was growing up and having more and more interest in having a smartphone or a cell phone to play games and something like that. And he told me that he was in favor of video games. He knows how important there is for kids, you know, all the benefits, but he wasn't happy with the whole smartphone situation. And after thoughtful consideration, he decided to get one of those Master System versions to his daughter,
Okay.
and she loved it. She had like she was like 7 or 8, something like that, and she adored the system. She loved the system, and she started to play all of those games. Alex Kidd, uh, some other IPs localized and licensed by Sega, like the Woodpecker game, which was a game later on exclusively here in Brazil. and more games like that. So where she was able to enjoy the system, even being it a very old system for her in the 2000s, and right now in 2024 I see the same situation happening. If you
Hmm.
are if you are a concerned father or mother, you don't want to put an iPad or a smartphone on the hands of your kid, but you want them to to have a great time with video games because they can help with the development of the kid. That's a good choice. Also, it's cheap, it's something affordable. you know Video games are not affordable in general. They are very expensive, even to
Very
this
true.
day. Actually,
Yeah.
especially these days.
Especially now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a system like that with 150 games built in, it's really, really, really useful, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And not only the console version, but also the portable versions as well, because Tectoy put out two versions of a portable console, one for the Mega Drive and one for the Master System. So also a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason I see this is to this day a big presence in the market.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. This is something that I'm very curious about the numbers of how many they have in stock, how many they produce, because what you see nowadays is the same version that you have that you are able to find in stores today is the same of 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
they are not updating anything. So though they are only bringing more of the same.
But it's probably like
But
model 8 or 9 or something of the Master System now, right?
yeah, probably.
Awesome. By the way, for people wondering what the Woody Woodpecker game looked like, this or looks like, this is
Yeah,
it.
it's very charismatic, very charismatic.
Excellent.
I
Um,
I I, I would be happier. I would be happy if if it was better gameplay wise as well. Not so gameplay, but it does the job because it's charismatic, and
mhm,
it brings one of the popular characters across the board here.
mhm. Yeah, excellent. Nice. So
And did you have the chance to also bring to the podcast before to the show before the Street Fighter 2, which was exclusive and one of the rarest games of the system?
I think we talked about, I don't know if it was with you or with Stefano. We
Oh, okay.
talked about
Yeah.
this, I think, like the exclusivity of Street Fighter 2. Yeah, in
Yeah,
Brazil. That's
that's a
amazing, right? That's actually a very
that's
good
a
point.
marvelous feat, development wise and business wise, because to handle all of the licensing things with Capcom and Capcom allowing this game to come to fruition, and it's a solid game. If you
Hmm.
consider the time and the conditions where this was developed. And we know that there are clones, Chinese clones of Street Fighter for the NES, but they don't stand a chance
Yeah.
against this version.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's
and
a
it's
very rare
amazing
game and very
how.
expensive.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, and it's incredible how Tectoy. I had the chance to discuss this with the like the founder, like the first CEO of Tectoy. But it's incredible how they were able to not only distribute but produce the console, create games, considering like having like the business I don't know, like the discerning eye to understand that they should bet on this system, on these decisions. They were able to convince Sega, which was not easy, like
Hmm.
that interview showed. Um, but they were able to pull it off, and that's really something that paid off for them as well. So it's really
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah, totally, totally.
excellent.
Yeah, I'm still chasing this game. Like, like a completing box version of this one. It's I'm still this one in my collection. Yeah, but it's highly
Mm,
praised. Among others.
mhm.
So like popular Brazilian TV shows adapted to games like Castelo Rá which is the Rá Castle. We had some characters that became really popular across Christmas and special Children's Day here as well. That was adapted to a game like the the Stinky Frog, as we say,
Sapo Chulé. Yeah.
Sapo Chulé. Also, TV shows from Global. Yeah, it was
Turma da
an
Mônica, right?
Turma da
Like,
Mônica.
which was like more of a
Needs
Wonder
no
Boy
introduction.
3 Dragon Strap, but like adapted to that show, that
Yeah,
cartoon.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ne-
yeah.
Turma da Mônica needs no introduction. Having the opportunity to work with Dotemu for many years now, when they put out the remake of Wonder Boy, and seeing that they were trying to connect the Monica verse to that game as well, with fans creating the sprites, like hand drawn art of Monica characters to put into the game. We see how big of an impact this is.
Mm, mm. Yeah, and that was actually, I think we touch on the last question that I had, which is like not just the impact on the gaming industry in Brazil, but the cultural impact of the Master System and all the things that we mentioned throughout the show, like TV shows featuring the Master System, which was not something that happened before.
Yeah.
The fact that many of like Brazilian IPs were adapted into video games, that shows how big this thing was over there, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
Do you feel like it's still part of the conversation in a way? Because looking back, for example, I know the Master System, for example, here in Portugal was big in a way as well. I know many people, not my case specifically. I started with the Mega Drive, but many people that I know started with the Master System and
Mm-hmm.
are still big fans of the Master System. And that's the same across Europe as well. The Master System, I remember reading, is Sega's second most sold console of all time, especially in Europe and Brazil. Like those are the two main territories. Do you feel like it's people still talk about it uh, when they talk about like games in general, or is the conversation pretty much dominated by the current systems, or more even when they talk about Sega, the more the later ones? What's your perspective on that?
It depends on the generation that you are approaching, because if you are talking to our generation, people in their 30s, late 30s, and early 40s. Obviously, every time that we talk about video games, be it new releases or like the classics, there's always some space to connect the dots and get to the Master System, because it's that big of an impact. Uh,
Mhm.
but in general, I don't think that it's the same for other generations. What I can see is that this passion towards retro, it's being more and more getting more and more audience. So you can see youngsters getting interesting, like pixelated games or pixelated characters, or the retro approach in some of IPs of new indie games,
Yeah.
and this all comes from the very same place, from the passion towards those games. And I see that we have a very uh, fruitful community of developers bringing new Master System games today and new Mega Drive games today, and they are also influencing the indie scene. And if we have like kids or youngsters playing retro inspired content today, it's because of this connection. So they might not know about the master system, but they are being impacted, like, for sure, for sure. That's without a doubt a connection that you can create.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned people creating games for the Master System. Is that something that you follow closely or not so much?
Oh, you bet I do. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I really support initiatives like that. And currently, I am supporting. When I mean supporting, is working to support with my knowledge and my company, uh, the release of a brand new game for the Mega Drive, and also the a new console created in the territory here, the Sega Neptune.
Oh yeah.
The,
Oh,
the
nice.
Yeah, so it's not the Sega Neptune, obviously, because
Of
of
course.
licensing deals, but it's the GF1 Neptune,
Mm-hmm.
which is by a Brazilian company here called GameScare, and I've been supporting them through PR and also business development. So they are hard at work there with their FPGA board, creating content, creating a new console from scratch, which you'll be able to play the Genesis or Mega Drive and also 32X. And we also announced recently that there's a Master System core in the console. So yeah, the Master System lives on in 2024
Yeah.
and 2025 and 2026 and many years down the road. And yeah, obviously, if I see an opportunity like that, I will jump into it like immediately. And I know that this has everything to be a very interesting and great project by GameScare, and also for the country of Brazil. With all this relationship that we have towards
Mhm.
this era of video games and these particular systems. Yeah, it's going to be quite a ride for this console.
And Brazil is one of the most prolific countries in terms of like people developing games for retro console, not just for retro consoles, but since that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about now, for retro consoles specifically. Even Sage every year, the Sonic Amateur Games Expo every year has
Yeah.
a lot of Brazilian
Yeah.
developed
Entries. Yeah.
games, and so it's really nice to see, like, because the fans are what's driving these retro consoles forward and keeping them
Hmm.
alive. So people creating these great games for older consoles. I mean, it makes me happy.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
actually
Me too.
I when I think now of and it's a little bit unfair because there are so many great games that are being developed or have been released recently. But I think about a game that I actually have. I can show it a little bit. It's I've been following this person on Twitter, and this is a Master System game that looks
Hmm.
like it's like a mix between like maybe Fantasy Zone and
Hmm.
I don't know what else I could maybe like the those Space Invaders and
Yeah.
asteroids and stuff, right? But it's very colorful, and it's a game that's being developed for the Master System in 2024.
Hmm.
So, and this is
Hmm.
by Adam at Bat
Adam.
Computer Zero from
Hmm.
England, apparently.
Hmm.
And actually, you can actually find Adam on itch.io as well. Uh,
Yeah, if
yeah.
if you search Master System and Mega Drive, like in a place like itch.io, you'll see many projects being developed
Mhm.
there, and also influencing other projects. And of course, we have some big names here creating interesting stuff with their own limitations for being indie developers, but making the scene prosper, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, and it makes us older guys, hopeful that these systems will never die, because
Oh yeah,
there are still, and people are pushing like the limits
yeah,
of these
yeah.
older systems, so it's really really nice
Yeah, that's
to
the
see
thing
what
that
they're
I find
doing.
most interesting. Uh, if we could put some of these guys in a time machine and get them back to the 90s or 80s to talk to the original developers, wow, what could be done?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, because they're not restrained by time,
Yeah,
like deadlines,
yeah,
and having to you have to release this game now and stuff. So
yeah.
they have more freedom
Pure
to work.
passion.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Renato, always awesome to have you on the show. We need to wrap things up, but any final thoughts on the Master System for people listening to us, and like any final message to celebrate the 35 years of the console in Brazil?
I think we touched this like in this last part of the conversation. The master system will keep with it's going to be with us for many years in many capacities. So it's only a matter of staying tuned in places like the Sega Lounge and also on the community. So don't stress. No, there's no reason to stress. There's no reason to panic. This is a system that will live for many years now. And the thing that I always say is that I'm pretty grateful for being involved since I was a kid with this
Hmm.
amazing universe, and then later on. Getting the opportunity of being driven by this passion to enter this business and to be here now supporting this and so I'm very very grateful for the master system, and I hope no, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people that will feel the same.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah. And since we're shouting out people and projects and stuff, for people wanting to be up to date with Master System happenings worldwide, smspower.org.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
great
great place,
resource.
great place.
The creator of this is also one of the people behind Lizard Cube, one of the
Mm-hmm.
founders of Lizard
Mm-hmm.
Cube, who worked on
Yeah.
Wonder Boy 3, Omar, and they actually, I believe they have like a yearly contest for people creating
Mm-hmm.
Master System games as well, and a lot of great
Yeah, that's
projects come out
amazing.
of this. Yeah, so do check this out. Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Renato, where can people find you online? What can you tease in terms of what you're working on, if you can? Sega or what otherwise? What
Yeah.
should people be excited about?
Yeah, and now episode is going to be also a slice of time, historically speaking, because we don't have Twitter at the moment.
That's
Twitter
true.
is banned from Brazil.
That's true.
So if you are from the future and you're listening now, like 20 years, like in 2040 something, 2050, remember that there was a time Brazil didn't have Twitter. But
Remember that Brazil was one of the first countries that banned Twitter, and that led to the demise of that social network worldwide. And everyone moved over to Blue Sky. No, that's probably not
yeah.
going to happen, but okay.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, so that's a thing. It's worth mentioning. And right now, in addition to the professional work that we've been sharing, and we try to spread joy through our work with games. People can find us at Agência underline Massamune, and also I've been using Instagram and TikTok for my personal hobbies. So to talk about my collection and to talk about video games and classic and retro and arcades. So it's Super Arcade Center. It's as simple as that on TikTok and Instagram. Super Arcade Center. So I've been doing unboxing videos when I'm visiting Japan. So a lot of good stuff. It's spreading joy across the board as well. So Super Arcade Center is the place I like to. I would love to have more time to talk about my passion and to bring more content, but usually that's the spot where you find me with reels, stories, and posts on social media.
There you go.
Because Blue Sky is still unknown, uncharted
Yeah.
territory.
That's true. That's true. So check it out. All links as usual in the show notes. So do check out all places where you can find Renato, and maybe Twitter soon again, or X
Yeah.
or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Renato, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you
Always
so
a
much.
pleasure
Thank you.
to have you on the
Always a
show.
pleasure.
And
Yeah.
I think we'll need to set up that little challenge episode.
Oh yeah,
where you,
please.
yeah,
Please.
you have to come up with a team of Brazilian Sega fans to
Count
join
me
you.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's going to be awesome.
we'll make
And
it happen.
congrats for the show. I had the chance to see the show evolving, and now with video, the video component, I think people will enjoy more seeing the happy faces of the guests to be here because it's such an amazing place to come and share stories. And yeah, it's even better to illustrate with your videos and the conversation. Great. So congratulations for the initiative, and I hope to see you on Brazilian television. Why not a show on
Of
Brazilian
course,
television?
of course. Let's make it happen. What was it? The SBT show? Play game
TV game.
or TV game?
TV game.
Okay, okay.
TV game. Play game. TV game. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
A new
I'll
version 2024.
I'll do this
hosted by you.
and punch the air and stuff to
Yeah.
defeat enemies and maybe let's do it like something more modern, like a dragon or something. I'll
Yeah,
be
that would
Kiryu.
be amazing.
Yeah. Thank you very
great.
much for the kind words, though. Thank you very much, and let's keep in touch. And I wanted to be back on the show very, very soon again. Thank
Always
you,
a
Renato.
pleasure.
Take
See
care.
ya. Bye bye.
Oh, and by the way, I'm saying goodbye to Renato, but also thank you very much. I was so into the conversation. Thank you very much for everyone for listening or watching the video. And as Renato just said, just youtube.com/ at the Sega Lounge. It's the place to find the video versions of our shows, or the SegaLounge.com as per usual. You can find everything there. The next few shows will probably be a little bit different, because I'll be a few days away from home. But if you enjoy the Sega Lounge Challenge portion of the show, you want to stay tuned for the next couple of episodes or so. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching or listening. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at The Sega Lounge on X, Twitter, and Instagram, at thesegalounge.com on Blue Sky, and be sure to check out our Twitch and YouTube channel for live video content. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com, on the Terra Player app, and wherever you listen to podcasts. a Mixed on Productions podcast.